Welcome to Transform, Ignite, Disrupt, bringing you interviews and insights covering proven, practical strategies to unlock your company's innovation potential. Here's your host, Stephen L. Blue.
Hello, everyone. Steve Blue here, and welcome to the very first podcast of Transform, Ignite, and Disrupt. Now, you'll learn over the course of all of these podcasts exactly how to transform your organization to get it ready so you can ignite its innovational potential. And then once you've done that, of course, now it's time to disrupt the marketplace. And you can't do one without the other. So we're going to cover all of those things extensively in this podcast with my own thoughts, how I've done it with my company and in my background and my career. And, of course, as how others have done it, too, because there's some really cool people who are going to be on this program over the course of the podcast. So I hope you'll listen into all of it because it's all going to be just really great stuff. The first guest I'm going to have in the next podcast is a fellow by the name of Jeff Tuomi, who is the founding CEO of a company called Core ID Services. Now, what they did is they totally disrupted the LifeLock market, if you will, the market for identity theft protection, and they did it with offering the same services that LifeLock has for like a fraction of the price. And, of course, somehow he found a way to do that with a fraction of the cost, because you got to believe a slick guy like Jeff Tuomi, and I know him, he's really slick, you got to believe he just didn't cut margins to get there, because it's not good enough to just cut margins and disrupt the marketplace on price, and then everybody loses. It's sort of a race to the bottom. That's not the thing to do. What you have to do is you have to cut your costs. You have to find a way to add value as much or more than the other guy for less cost. And Jeff's going to be the first one on the podcast, first guest, and that'll be coming up next. And we're going to have all kinds of other guests that are just amazing people who have disrupted their marketplaces, transformed their organization, and ignited their innovational potential. And I know something of this because I've written books on that. Just lately, I co-authored a book with Jack Canfield called The Principles of Success, Mastering the Art of Success, and I wrote a whole chapter in that book on how to unleash the innovation potential in your company. And my upcoming book in the spring of 2018 is called Metamorphosis, from how to transform your company completely from a low-tech to a high-tech technology company in the 21st century. And that I devote a whole book to that subject, showing you exactly how to do what I have done and exactly how any company, especially a low-technology company, can transform themselves into a high-tech company. And so that's going to be coming up. But, I will be taking detours, call it editorial privilege, from the main theme of this podcast, which is Transform, Ignite, Disrupt. And I will take detours when I see dumb attacks in the media. When I see dumb attacks from dumb people, ignoramuses in leadership positions that shouldn't be there, I'm going to comment on that. I'm going to talk about that, and you'll see that there are lessons that we can all learn just from the stupid things people do in the world, and there are plenty of them out there. My favorite go-tos are there are three companies that are just, any day of the week practically, I can look at the news and I can find something stupid one of these companies did, totally ridiculous, totally counterproductive, and what I call dumb attacks. And those companies are, of course, Wells Fargo, which is always good for something stupid, and it has been for years. I remember a couple of years ago, maybe it was last year, I used them as an example of why individual incentives were a bad idea. And I think I called the blog The Grinch That Stole Christmas. My daughter and I were shopping at a major department store, and a woman came up to us, high-end department store, like Coach purses and things that start at $400. And she came up to us and, can I help you? And we said, well, I don't know, we're kind of looking for whatever it is my daughter was looking for. And the woman pointed us to a few things, and my daughter didn't like them much. So we said, no, thanks. We'll, sort of walk around and look a little bit more. And then a couple minutes later, we find something we're getting ready to buy, and another woman comes up to us, and she wants to sort of, close the sale and make the transaction, all that kind of stuff. Well, then these two women started fighting over each other as to who owned the customer, which is completely dumb. I mean, it was so bad that they were so rude. It was almost as if we were an afterthought. We were standing there, the two of them were arguing over who ought to get this sale, and we got so turned off by that we walked out, and the company didn't get any sale at all. Now that's a perfect example of individual incentives based on individual performance, which never is a good idea. It just never is a good idea. And that was a prime example, because if they'd had an incentive program where all of the sales associates shared in all of the sales, they wouldn't have lost that sale, and those two ostensibly would have been able to split that commission, as opposed to neither one of them. So neither one of them got a commission, so the two employees lost, and the company lost because they lost the sale. Now, you can argue in that case, and some people will, that, well, you know, if you do it that way, then you'll have people who slack off and don't do anything and don't try and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's a leadership problem. If you have somebody who slacks off like that, then you need to get rid of them. It's just as simple as that. Anyway, about that time, I was on Wells Fargo for they incentivize their executives to create a bunch of ghost accounts, and I had something like 2 million customers that never signed up for accounts that Wells Fargo signed them up for, just so they could make their individual CEO type bonuses, and that, of course, just backfired on them. And just recently here, a couple of weeks ago, I'm trying to think of what exactly the problem was. They did something else where they were incentivizing individual people, and so then they defrauded some more customers. I don't remember exactly the details, but it's a perfect example of how individual incentives drives individual behavior, and you can't be on a basketball team with one person playing for himself and not caring about the other players, and not sharing the logistics, if you will, of the game with the other players. It's a team sport, guys. It is, and if you try to incentivize people for individual performance, you get and profit at all costs. Wells Fargo's another example of the profit at all costs. So don't misunderstand me. I mean, I'm a profit guy. If you're running a for-profit business, that's what you're there for. But if you put profit above everything else, above ethics, above how your employees feel, if you put it above your customers, as Wells Fargo has done many, many times, then you're just going to crash and burn, just like Wells Fargo has. United is another perfect example. You know, people sometimes make the mistake of thinking United Airlines is in the customer service business. They're not. They're in the transport the cows from one place to another business, and they don't care about whether the cow is happy or not, whether the cow is treated well or not. It's simply a matter of logistics, and yet on their website they talk about their values, and their culture is to treat people right, or some nonsense. And that's what I call bumper sticker values. Many companies are guilty of bumper sticker values because they look good in the boardroom, they look good on the corporate wall, the granite wall, and it's just a great, happy place. And in many cases, the CEO actually believes he's drinking the Kool-Aid, and he believes those are the values of the company. In United's case, I can't remember the Munzo, whatever the CEO's name is, he immediately jumped to the defense of this woman that I don't know, she threw a pregnant woman off the plane or banged into her with her stroller and treated her like dirt. I can't remember exactly the situation, but the CEO jumped to the employee's defense right away because he was drinking the Kool-Aid, and he believed that, well, there's no way United could treat anybody that way because we have these values, and they're wonderful values, and we treat our customers well and with respect and all that kind of stuff. And he was dead wrong. He was dead-ass wrong. That isn't the values of United Airlines. And, of course, one of my other go-to favorites is Uber. Any day of the week you want to pick something dumb that Uber's done from a leadership point of view, you can find it. It's not that hard. So occasionally I will, when I see something in the news that deserves, what they used to call knuckleheads in the news, I'm going to jump in and do a solo podcast and sort of break from tradition of my normal format of doing interviews of cool people who've done amazing things. So I'll do that when I see it's appropriate, and it'll probably be appropriate a lot because, this business world is starving for great leadership. It really is starving for great leadership. And although my podcast is how to transform your organization into what it needs to be to ignite your innovation potential and then disrupt the market, You can't do any of those things if you have pinheads in leadership, and if you have pinheads in the employee rank and file. You just can't do that. You have to have fabulous leadership who care about people, who balance profit with customers, with the community, with employees, and you have to have employees that are pumped up and psyched and ready to go, and I'll be talking about all of that as the podcast go forward. So I'm kind of looking forward to doing this with you, and I hope that you'll, when you listen to my podcast, you'll get on my website and see what other insights that I can offer you. I've written 4 books already, and I'm about to publish my 5th in the spring of 2018, Metamorphosis from Rust Belt to High Technology in a 21st Century World, and I hope you'll buy that book because I know you'll find it amazingly helpful. But the whole purpose behind our podcast is going to be to show you how to be superbly innovative. And to do that, you have to transform your organization first, then you ignite its innovation capability, and then, and only then, can you disrupt the market. And we'll be teaching you that, and you'll learn that through the podcast, not only by what I've done and what I talk about and the insights I have, but the cool people that I'll have on my show to share their wisdom with you. So we'll be looking forward to that, and please contact me anytime you want. I'd love to hear from you. Again, this is Steve Blue, CEO, best-selling author, business transformation expert, and the CEO of Miller Ingenuity, a innovative company that's saving lives in the rail industry. Goodbye for now.
You've been listening to Transform, Ignite, Disrupt. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit StephenLBlue.com.